Welcome to the Mazzamuto Method, the show where we build with clarity, lead with confidence, and live with discipline. We're your hosts, Gino and Mario Mazzamuto, co-owners of Mazzamuto Construction and Bella Costa Cabinets, and our mission is simple: help you eliminate chaos, solve problems early, and build a life and a business you're proud of. Every episode gives you a clear plan, practical tools, and a mindset to execute at a higher level. This is where craftsmanship meets leadership. This is the Mazzamuto Method, and let's get to work. So today we have our first question from a potential client. So this lady emailed in and she has some questions, and she heard that we have a podcast. So she framed it in a way that we could ask it on this podcast. And so we're going to go to that now.
This is from Sarah. She says, "Hi there. I was going to reach out to you guys anyways, but once I heard you had a podcast, I thought this would be a perfect place to ask some advice. We have a 1960s home in Walnut Creek, and with 3 growing boys, excuse me, we need to add an extra bedroom and update the kitchen and bathrooms. I'm a remote worker, so curious about the best way to tackle this remodel with minimal disruption. Should we start with an architect, or can we come straight to you guys to plan it all out? Any tips on budgeting and making sure it's a good investment for us, it being an older home? Thanks so much. Best, Sarah."
Okay, so hold on. Let me just look at this. So her first question, so she lives in Walnut Creek, 1960s home. She has 3 boys and she needs an extra bedroom, and she wants to update her kitchens and bathrooms at the same time.
Plus, she works from home. I don't know if she said that.
Yeah, he said that. So she works from home. So let's answer the first question of how do we typically help people when they're dealing with a job this size. So the main thing that we deal with, and what she touched on, is she works from home. So we find a couple of different things. Sometimes people tend to do these things in stages, and sometimes they want to knock it all out in one go. It all depends on their situation and what they can. Some people have in-laws living close, or they go. We had a customer just recently went and stayed at what's those extended stay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's extended stay type hotel, like a condo type.
And they had a small dog named Zeus. So that I was actually surprised that these places take those animals. So
right.
But and we have a big job going on right now where the customer is living with her daughter. So it depends.
Well, yeah, and the one we're doing in Lafayette, that one, the homeowners, it's a whole house remodel from end to end, and they are very adamant about staying home. It was a recommendation from us that they move, or I shouldn't say move, but go stay somewhere else and knock it out and be cheaper. But they were really adamant about staying there. So there's all kinds of different variations to this. But yeah, we can talk about a few of them.
So yeah, I think it's just what people want to do. Some people have more of a ability to deal with the stuff, because no matter how good a contractor is and how great they take care of your home as they're building it, you're still coming home. I mean, in her case, she works at home, so that in some ways makes it harder because you don't even get a break.
Well, you can have probably a lot of noise too. Maybe she's on Zoom calls, phone calls, something like that. So you got to think that one through a lot.
Yeah, but in any case, even if you're not working from home, you still got to come home. And for me, I think it would be hard because you're coming home, you want to decompress, you want to relax, and you're kind of walking into a construction site again. No matter how great the contractor does as keeping that separated, especially if you're doing a kitchen, and she wants to do 2 bathrooms, so you'd have to keep 1 bathroom operational. So it just my feeling is that it just extends the whole process, because you're having to navigate that, and again, you'd have to leave 1 bathroom operational, so which means you'd have to get done with the majority and then come back and finish that bathroom.
Yeah. So here's we'll break it into maybe 2 scenarios. One scenario is you move out, go move in with family, stay at an extended stay in Airbnb. And it sounds like it could be more expensive that way, but it actually likely will be cheaper. And the reason why is because for us, logistically, we can really knock out a project if we're going in, gutting a whole entire house and just knocking it out, putting all of our people on it,
and not having to take the time to worry about keeping things. I mean, we want to keep things clean, anyways, but it's a difference when you having somebody come home at the end of the day versus not. So, I always opt for that scenario. I think it's the best. It's less stressful, get it done quicker, get the whole thing done, and then you move in. You got the
Yeah.
it's it's it just
tons. It's kind of like we've done this a few times where we've had clients go on a 30-day vacation. They're already gonna, like, next year we're gonna go to Portugal for 30 days. Is there any way that you can do a bathroom remodel for us while we're out of town? We've done that before. And imagine how much more peaceful that would be for the client. Literally, go on vacation, come back home, have a new bathroom. That'd be amazing.
Well,
so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
I think the other thing though that kind of dovetails into this is also the pre-con planning. That has a lot to do with the ability to do that, because if you're working with a traditional contractor who doesn't do a lot of the pre-construction planning,
Tons.
and then you have to answer a bunch of questions through the process, then that doesn't work. You don't want somebody calling you when you're uh, trying to explore Spain and asking you what color you want to paint your bathroom.
No, all planning has to get done ahead of time for sure. So yeah, in our case, we have an architect that we work with, plus we have a designer that we work with, and so that's where, I mean, we know down to the exact paint color, down to the cabinet pulls, model number, like everything. And so yes, that's work, but the way we look at it is, at least on our end, we try to put as much time into the planning as into the construction. It makes the construction flow way faster. You don't have to stop. You don't have to, change your mind about anything. Now, if anybody does change their mind, that's just
So
a part
what's
of the
your
process.
recommendation?
We move out.
Yeah,
It's always move out.
I
It's going to
agree.
be cheaper. It's going to be less stressful.
Yeah.
But in the case that you absolutely can't, you really don't want to, there's ways around that. We can mitigate that. Your contractor can mitigate that, but they have to set you up for it.
So that's the first question. So then the one of the other questions she had was, and you touched on it, about the architect, about whether if you're doing a project like this, do you want to reach out and have an architect build plans and then find a contractor? And I'll just jump in on that one real quick because I have very strong opinions on that.
Mm-hmm.
I Me personally, I don't like coming in to a job with a an architect.
Mm-hmm.
For it just me personally, I feel like it makes our job a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, what I've seen is a lot of times plans that are overbuilt uh, for the scope of work, because the thing is, most architects are not going to ask you like, what's your budget for the construction part of the job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to say like, what do you want? What is everything that you want? He's going to put it into the plans. He's going to fancy it up and do, because I think there's also a differentiating. Most people say architect, but really what you need is a draftsman. I mean, but both are they're kind of the same thing, but architects tend to be a little bit more on the design side and with the bells and whistle type of stuff, and that's fine for certain people if they want to get like really detailed in their plans. But I think the main things are cost is not never considered when you're developing plans. The architect just wants to draw your plans up, get them done, and get you to pay for him. Then he's off to the next thing. And so I think when you come to a company that actually has an architect, a construction company, it's a better outcome, because then you can kind of work with the contractor to say, like, what's the budget, and then you can kind of build your plans around that instead of doing it the other way around. And then the other thing was that I think that it's important to have communication with the contractor to kind of direct, like, what you want to do. Not say that architects or draftsmen can't do that, but I think again, it's easier if you work with a general contractor that can kind of guide that kind
Well,
of thing.
yeah, I think here with I'm going to back up a little tiny bit and just we're kind of opened up a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I think it's definitely worth going down. And what a lot of people don't realize is that this is a team effort, and it's not just a contractor's effort, not just a designer's effort, not just the architect's effort. And so when we have a client that comes to us fresh and they go, "Listen, we're thinking about doing an addition," we will bring the team together. So we grab the architect, we grab the designer, we get the homeowners and us. And so now it's a team effort. So each individual person is going to be asking questions that pertain to their industry. The designer is going to be asking design questions. The architect's going to be asking architectural questions. Contractor, we're going to be asking contractor questions. And the homeowner is going to be asking homeowner questions. And that's the absolute best way to start. Now, does it mean that it's impossible to work with a client who's already gone to an architect and comes to us with plans? Absolutely not. But it definitely can slow it down. And we try not to throw those plans out, but we've had plans come to us and we go, it just doesn't, these things don't make sense. And once the designer looks at it, she's going to say the same thing. These things don't make sense. Why did the architect do that? Now we have to go back to the drawing
And that's the
board.
point of having revisements,
Yeah.
In the process of getting plans drawn. But even if you do revisements, if you don't have input from other than just the homeowner, you might miss things.
Right. Absolutely. And here's the thing. If you're going to do an addition, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, depending on size of your addition, whatever, it can go down or up from there. But let's just say you're putting all this money into it. Wouldn't you want the best output? Don't you want just advice from everybody, not just advice from an architect?
Well, and also, I think it's probably 50-50. Some people probably know what plans cost, and some people I think are shocked by how much plans cost.
Yeah.
But in Sarah's case, if with what she's doing, she wants to do bedroom, 2 bathrooms and a kitchen and an addition. So it's not going to be that, the kitchen stuff, depending on if she wants to blow out walls and things like that. She's totally restructuring, but you can see plans for something like that run from anywhere from like 8 to 14,000.
Yeah, but we've heard of plans. We've had customers come to us and they go, "Oh, we spent 40 grand on plans."
Well, that was
We
just
go,
actually that was
"What?"
just recently happened.
Yeah, just recently happened with us. So,
and that's yeah, good.
and that's why are we even doing this podcast? Because what we're trying to do with this podcast is talk about things that happen in the industry before clients start talking with the contractor or us or whatever. And we're trying to make this process just better for everybody. It's an educational podcast. And so what most people don't realize is the pitfalls that kind of happen along the way. And so if we could take a little bit of our experience and put it out there and make somebody's life a little easier.
Well, that's that's the key, right? And and I want to talk about real world experience with also being we're going to have our customers listening to this, and past customers and current customers. So I want to be I want to protect their feelings when we're talking.
Sure.
But it's the one you were just talking about. The customer spent 40 grand on plans, and we're having to come in behind the 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 old GC and pick it up. So it's it can have a lot of pitfalls. But so I would say work with a contractor who has it, either works with an architect or has their own architect, that you can kind of direct the flow of that kind of stuff and not be stuck in an overbuilt thing. But to that point, I want to kind of transition into, she also asked, pull it up. She was also asking about any tips on budget and making sure it's a good investment for an older home. So Mario can touch on that. Why don't you give him some background about like where you come from with that kind of.
Sure. Yeah. So, one of the things to point out too is what Gino had just mentioned is when looking for a contractor, our advice is to shop for a a design build contractor. That word design is actually kind of a big deal. It means that this contractor is going to take you from start to finish. So in our firm, that's what we offer. We're a design build construction company. Yeah, in my previous life, I've been a real estate appraiser since 2001, and so and just done tons of outside of the appraisal business. I've flipped a lot of properties myself. I spent about 10 years flipping properties, and I wouldn't call it. I shouldn't call it flip. I should call it buy, rehab, resell, because we definitely put a lot of work into these things and never sold a property that had a problem, because we addressed the problems, because that's our background. We're good contractors. So I've done a lot of consulting with clients who want to pick up a piece of property and make it theirs, but they want to know, like, is it a good investment? Am I dumping money into something that's not going to give me the money back? So I can go get into it a little bit more, but like Gino calls it my spiel that I tell clients, but it's an honest it's not a pitch. It's actually my honest
No,
advice to
I
folks.
mean, yeah, I give you some crap, but it's just in brotherly jest. But the thing is, I think when you told me it, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Well, so this is what I say. I tell a lot of clients who are reluctant to maybe, let's just say we have a client that comes to us and says, "Hey, listen, we've thought about this for years. We want to build this, you know, kitchen, but we're kind of thinking maybe it's too much. It's too big. It's and it's a dream of mine. I've always wanted a big kitchen. I'm thinking of for instance, right now, I had a customer a year and a half ago that came to me and said, we've been to friends' houses who've hosted holiday parties, and we've hosted holiday parties at our house. We hate doing it because we have the worst kitchen. It's this long, skinny kitchen, and I get frustrated when it gets too piled up with people, and so most of the party happens out in the living room. But we've been to friends' houses that have this big, huge kitchen with a big grand island, and it's always been my dream to do it. And like we've always been reluctant because we don't think that we're going to get our money back out of it. It happened to be where their property was located. I started kind of working with them on some plans and let them know right away, like, actually,
But did you mentioned that you flipped out? But did you mention that you were a appraiser?
yeah, I mentioned I was an
Okay,
appraiser.
I
Yeah,
wasn't paying attention.
yeah. Oh my gosh, why are we even doing this? No. So yeah, so I told him, you know what? In your case, where your property is located, I'm happy to refer you to an appraiser. I mean, you can go out and find your own appraiser. You can go talk to a realtor, but I recommend to talk to somebody outside of myself, so you don't think I'm trying to talk you into it, because I'm absolutely not. I'm just letting you know that your plan actually is feasible with your property, because where it's located. You can do so. We ended up doing an addition to the house, and I let them know up front.
But you didn't do your spiel. Tell them the spiel.
My spiel is this, because this is what this customer had to do. They had to tap into their retirement to afford to do this remodel, and that was their biggest worry. My spiel is this: is that how many times have you entertained in your IRA? How many times have you cooked a beautiful meal in your retirement account? You don't. It's just numbers on a screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not disregarding the fact that the S&P 500 or wherever your investment is a good investment. But what I am saying is that overall, over time, the history is that real estate, especially where we are located in the San Francisco Bay Area of California, that over time, real estate does not go down long term. It might go down in the short term, but it'll come back up and it'll be higher than what it was before. And so my spiel is, it just, what's the point of working and making all this money just to be numbers on the screen? You should be enjoying it. And so obviously there's plenty of places that it may just be too much of an investment. And not to get too technical, but what the terminology is this in real estate, this is what you call it. It's a performing. It's basically like an underperforming asset, and there is a point of diminishing returns, is what it's called. So, which means that you're not going to go build a 6,000 square foot house in a house that's just full of 1,000 square foot houses. Now, there are neighborhoods that somebody has to start building that. Like, you go to Menlo Park, for instance, and somebody had to do that, right? It's Facebook's out there, tons of these software companies, but in large, it happened in kind of in mass where for every neighborhood, there was maybe 10 1,000 square foot houses and a mansion. And so, not to get too far off into the weeds, but that's one of the things that we recommend. Like, don't just listen to me. I'd recommend go talk to a realtor. I'd recommend go talk to an appraiser. Go talk to somebody who knows the market area, and they'll let you know.
So
what is too much.
in Sarah's case, she wants to do a kitchen and 2 bathrooms. The bathrooms are kind of simple, right? Because unless you're gonna take over a bedroom and expand a bathroom,
Right.
Is there a ROI typically, like,
Yeah.
say you have a bathroom and then you're gonna
Right.
it's outdated and you're gonna remodel it. What's typically your return on investment on a
Right.
bathroom? And when you're pretty from the perspective of if you were ever to sell it, right?
Right. Yeah. So again, it's always like in real estate, it's location, 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 right? So it's not just the city that you're located in, but it's down to the neighborhood that you're located in. So for the most part, folks know what's kind of typical for their area. So for the most part, a homeowner can kind of answer this question themselves. But let's just say if we're in a neighborhood where there's a lot of 3-bedroom, 2 baths, and your house is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, the ROI is very simple. I don't even have to do an appraisal. You don't even have to call a realtor. If you added a bedroom and a bathroom, you're likely going to get 100% of your investment plus some, right?
So that's adding. So in her case, we're not talking hers because she already has 2 bedrooms, but bathrooms. But if you're going to add a bathroom and add a bedroom, because you're basically making that home more of a viable opportunity for more people to purchase it because
consistent with the neighborhood.
Well, and also
that's the biggest point right there.
But I think of it in a way like when customers say, "I want to remodel my master bathroom, my guest bathroom," and they go, "I want to remove a tub," and I say to them, "Well, is your plan going to be to stay here for a long time? Because if not, I wouldn't remove the tub because you're talking about, not only what you want, but what's best for the."
Again, that's a little specific though. It can get specific because 10 years ago, tubs were really sought after. Everybody wanted the tub, and it was most people's advice in real estate, at least around here, don't remove your tub because of,
kids
and so on and so forth. It's become walk-in showers have become more and more and more popular. At least again in our area.
I just use that as an analogy, but what I'm trying to say is it's kind of the same thing though, right? Even if that's not the case, or if it was the case, but what I'm saying is if you have a 1-bedroom, 2-bath, if you put that 1-bedroom, 2-bath on the market, you're limiting yourself to a family that has maybe 1 kid, right? Versus if you had a 2-bedroom, 3 bath, no, I'm sorry, 2-bathroom, 3-bedroom, you're opening the market up to more potential buyers.
Right. Yeah. So again, it's like there's kind of like the sweet spots, and it's very neighborhood driven. So I can't give absolute specifics because it just depends on the neighborhood. So if somebody called me as an appraiser and said, "Hey, we're thinking about adding a bedroom and a bathroom. What do you think? Do you think it's gonna be worth it?" I don't know. I need your address.
Yeah.
I need to look at your address. I need to look at comparable properties.
So
let me do a little bit of research, and I can tell you right away.
yeah. So
but we happen to know our area very well, and our extended area.
And
so
you have the background to know.
So it's a little different.
Plus you can do what you call like a soft appraisal where you just kind of look at the market.
You're just glancing at some comp, and that's what a realtor's going to do.
And I'll have to apologize. We're trying to keep this thing on track, but me and Mario both like to talk, so sometimes we get kind of sidetracked in different things
and off into the weeds.
The weeds.
So let's circle it back.
Yes. Okay. So we're talking about Sarah with her 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1-bedroom. I keep messing that up.
3-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
3-bedroom, and she wants to add another bedroom because she has 3 boys.
Right.
So what I was saying is about the bathrooms is that updating the bathrooms is not going to, you're going to get a good return on it. And it usually, especially if they're I think she said her house was the 1960s home. Yeah. So if those original bathrooms, you're going to get a good return on updating those bathrooms for sure.
That's easy.
And then the bedroom, again, if it's as long as it's in line with what the neighborhood is, you're not overbuilding, right? Because maybe you should give people kind of a quick understanding of, we're saying that because we know what that means, right? Mm-hmm. But basically, in a nutshell, it means that when a home goes up for sale, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't have that, so maybe I'm missing the point. But if a home goes up for sale and the realtor is going to come in and they're going to say, you could sell your house for, for example, 1.2 million. Mm-hmm. And you're going to go, well, how do you get that number? Mm-hmm. Well, because a house down the street that's at the same age, has the same upgrades as you guys, similar, sold for around that price.
Right. That's right.
So that's kind of how you're saying if it's overbuilt for the neighborhood.
Right.
If you have houses that are similar in size and amenities, and because there's caveats you got to make. Even if you're the same size, but one house has never been updated versus another house has been updated.
Right.
So there's a lot of different factors that go into that.
You never want to be overbuilt for your area.
Right.
And that's what I had talked about earlier is it's called the point of diminishing returns. As soon as you hit that point, if the average house in your area is 2,500 square feet and you want to double it, you want to go to 5,000, every square foot above 2,500 is going to be a point of diminishing returns. Okay.
Now, does that mean though that you can't ever recapture, or there's just lessons? Because you might have somebody comes in there and goes, I'm willing to pay.
Right. It becomes risky at that point.
Right.
It becomes a gamble
because you don't have historical.
Right. So if you're an investor, I'm going to put the investor hat on for a minute because this is going to make a little bit more sense. So if you're an investor, and again, the average house is 2,500 square feet in the area, but you just bought a house that's 1,500 square feet or 2,000 square feet. Likely that if you wanted to go add additional square footage, it's a strong market area, you're going to make money on that. But as soon as you go over 1 square foot over the 2,500, not that you're not going to get your money back for it, but it lessens the likeliness that you will. It becomes a little bit more of a gamble. So from an investor standpoint, you do the less risky thing to do. So when I was buying houses, I was always looking for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath market. That's like huge. You make so much money there
because you're buying it's undersized for the area,
right?
And you're going to bring it up so you're going to get your return on
it, right?
So the other side of that is, so we kind of talked about the technical side, but you always have to balance that out with the personal side. Right. So one of my questions I always like to ask people is like, what is your long-term intention for this house, right?
Because if you're not going to sell it for 50 years, who the heck cares?
Exactly right.
Like if it's going to cost you like a little bit more money, you're not going to break the bank or whatever, but like what's important to you. So it's a balancing act. It's what is your return going to be versus what do you have to be happy? If you have to have that to be happy, then you know what? Hey, let's do it.
And so the other side is we're kind of talking about specifically size. So, but you can also have that same conversation around like how you
finish.
How you finish. So, for example, we've had people where they have removed a bedroom to make a master suite. So there's things like that. Also for the kitchen, because a lot of people will, having that question about like, what is your long-term plan? Because that's going to dictate, like, are you going to build the kitchen purely for yourself? Like you don't care how what people are going to come in and think about it when you try to market it,
right?
Or do you need to consider that?
Right. So it's always our job to lay it all out for a client. And so when a customer comes to us, we're going to give them an honest answer, and we're going to let them know, like, hey, you know what? In your market area, it's not too common to, let's just say, put in high-end appliances, Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But if a customer says, listen, I'm not planning on selling for 30, 40 years or ever, I'm going to retire here. I'm 50 years old. And I absolutely love to cook, and I kind of don't care if it makes me money. I've been working my tail off. I have all this money in my retirement account. I just want to enjoy it. You know, that's great. Like at least we gave you an upfront.
Right.
Unless we we feel better that we told you
Right.
about that. Versus other clients come to us and tell me the same thing, and you're in like this market area we're talking about here, Walnut Creek.
So
I'm like, yeah, it's actually way more common in your area, and you're not going to be overdeveloped at all.
so the quick question is because she's asked how does she make sure it's a good investment for an older home? I don't know. Any budget tips and making sure it's a good investment. So
Talk to someone who knows your market
right,
area,
and make sure you don't
that's the tip.
overbuild. And
Right.
if you are, if you need that fourth bedroom for your son, then at that point, figure out like because some people have the question like, does it make sense for me to move? To do that.
Mhm.
And my thing is, me specifically is like, do you like the neighborhood? Do you like the school district? How long you been here? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then also, like my personal feeling though is that especially if you like the house and you've done things to it that have already you've already kind of transformed it in a way that fits your lifestyle. So you've done things that maybe you've done landscaping or done things that have already improved your property. And most of the time, if you've been in a house for like 20 years, you know what the problems of that house are.
Right. Well, again, the I like to cut right to the chase and say, is this your forever home? Is it like a lot of people know? A lot of people know, like, yeah, it's my forever home because I absolutely love the neighborhood. I love the neighbors. I love, how close it is to, trails
Right.
or restaurants or whatever. Like, so that question right there is it your forever home? How bad do you need it? Is it a must have or a like to have? So there's a lot of questions that I like to ask people up front. So because if somebody comes to me and says I want to do all this stuff, but it's not my forever home, okay, then when do you plan? Do you have an idea? 10 years? All right, well, but next year, yeah, you probably and unless again you're a 2 bedroom, 1 bath in a 3 bedroom, 2 bath neighborhood, and you want to make a bunch of money, like you could do it, and we can add a bedroom and a bathroom to you. But in this case, the 3 bedroom, 2 baths, she wants to increase again that fourth bedroom. Um, I don't know the exact neighborhood that she's writing from. She just said Walnut Creek. Now I do know the market area pretty dang well, and a fourth bedroom in most parts of Walnut Creek is going to be a good investment. I'd have to dive in, so I'd recommend talk to somebody who knows the market area.
Yeah, and I kind of spun off. I kind of spun off that, but I just wanted to throw that point in as far as because when people are considering a remodeling this size, sometimes they have that like, should I invest in it or should I go purchase another property? And so we talked about the investment part, but I just want to throw this part in because I think it's important. Most people, when they think about buying another house and moving, I I think they think that they're going to move in and it's going to be everything they want, and then they're not going to have to do anything. But my personal opinion is if you've been in a house for a certain amount of time, you already know what the problems are in your house, and most likely you've fixed a good majority of them. As long as there's not big outlying things like foundation issues or something like that. But you're going to go into another house that you're going to buy that's most likely going to be fixed up because they're going to get it market ready. And so there's going to you're not going to know what the defects are of it until you buy it, and then you realize that during the wintertime, the house shifts and all the doors stick, and or whatever. So my feeling is, and especially if it's an older home, I love older homes. The fact that I think they were built better. Well, I know that they were built better than new homes, and the material was better. A lot of times, some of these older homes were built out of redwood, which is a naturally pest resistant thing. So it's termite resistant.
Well, the craftsmen were a little bit better back then too.
Well, and also one of the things I kind of like to nerd out on and is the material. So most people, you heard of a 2x4, but most people don't realize that 2x4s aren't 2x4s anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually a half inch smaller either way.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's not a true 2x4.
exactly. And not only that, but the material, like I said, if you're a lot of these older homes were built out of old growth redwood or just old growth forest, which means that if you looked at if you cut a 2x4 or cut a tree in half and you look at the rings, from school, like the rings indicate like the lifespan of the trees.
Right.
But so you can see the distance between the rings shows how slowly or fast that tree grew.
Mhm.
And you want something that grew slow. So a lot of times you see these houses that are built with these fast because they hybridize these woods to get them to
These
produce
trees, yeah,
faster,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So right off, that's why you go to the Home Depot and you look. My dad. Again, I try to keep on the subject, but I find these things very interesting. So one of the things is my dad loves to go to and pick out his material, and that's kind of how I kind of started learning about these things, because you go into Home Depot and you look at a pile of wood or any lumber shop, and half that pile that they have is garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah, because it's already twisted. Look, anyway. So that's a side subject. But point of it is, for the investment side, if it's looking at, talk to a real estate agent, talk to you said appraiser.
Yeah, real estate agent or an appraiser, for sure.
And then figure out, are you going to stay there? Are you not going to stay there? And then, so, you have two sides of the coin. A good monetary investment and a good investment for your home is, making your lifestyle better and all that. And the final thing I just wanted to reiterate on. So what you were saying is that you can, if you have retirement or is something in a portfolio, the SP 500 that's doing a certain amount of return, you that return is just sitting there making you money, but you're not doing anything with it. So in the same way, if you invested in your house, you you're gonna get a guaranteed return on that investment, most likely, and it's gonna perform or outperform
Depending on your market area.
Exactly.
We got to put a caveat in here now, because just like you have to say, I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical advice. I'm not an expert in your area, because I don't know where you're listening from. This just pertains to our area, for sure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, in good market areas, and this is exactly why. Again, for us, it's not common that a contractor was also an appraiser and also a real estate investor, and I kind of wear a lot of hats, and so it's easier for me to say this, and not to say that you have to go find a contractor that wears all these hats, because you don't. But
you found us.
You have,
good luck. No,
yeah, right.
That's an advertisement slogan.
Right. Yeah. So we offer this to all of our clients because of our background and because of my background, but.
And also your banking back. I mean, not banking, but because you have the appraisal background, you've worked with a lot of bankers and things like that.
Sure.
So you can help navigate that side of it too.
Financing.
Yeah. And stuff like that.
So again, we offer a whole heck of a lot just because of our knowledge base and all that sort of stuff. But this is the team effort that we talked about earlier, and you could do it without coming to us necessarily.
And we
you contact a realtor, contact a good.
We should actually have another episode and bring Marcos in here as our pre-operations manager. He used to be a banker, and you guys could talk about.
For future episodes, we should bring in individuals outside of ourselves that have knowledge in these areas.
Talk to your friend Eric and bring him in here.
Yeah, that'd be huge, because again, Gino and I can geek out about this stuff and get extremely technical, because we take our job really seriously, and we actually really enjoy what we do. Plus, we like to talk.
That's a good. That's why we made the podcast, so we can hear ourselves
talk. Yeah. Yep. Not for anybody else, just for ourselves. No, but listen, there's folks that reach out to us that don't want to know any of these specifics, and they don't like having this specific conversation, and it's okay. It's nothing wrong with any of it. They go, listen, I don't care if I make my money back. I just want that bathroom done. I need that kitchen done. That's great. We're happy to help. But for the people who really do care, there are a lot of tools in that kind of area. That's what we're talking about.
And the other, so let's just run through her points, because real quick. So we talked about living at home versus moving out because she's a remote worker. So our suggestion is move out if you can. It just makes the process a lot easier, faster, and it saves your sanity in some cases. The other point was, is it a good investment? So we talked about that. Talk to a real estate agent or appraiser, figure out if it's a good investment financially, but also how it benefits your lifestyle. Because those are when you talk about investment, most people get caught up in the returns, and typically it's the husband that's talking about that because so 90% of the time it's the husband that pushes back against any kind of remodeling,
Spending
updating.
too much money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I always like the way Mario put it because the husband is typically the guy going, how much is what are we going to invest in this? How much are we going to make back on it and all that kind of stuff. So I like flipping and going like if you're thinking about it as an investment side, look at it this way, which I really like. And the the architect thing, right? So
Right.
I would suggest work with a company that has an architect like us or any other company that can work one on one. And one of the because you just get more control and you end up with a set of plans that are actually built to perform instead of it's because you typically, I mean, think about it. You're going to go to an architect. He's going to build something. You're going to hand it to a contractor. You're going to say how much is it? That's crazy. Why would you do that? So then you're going to find out, oh, I can't even afford this.
Well, okay, so let's go down that road because we had a year ago. We had a gentleman, contact us and say, "Hey, I'm calling around and I'm calling other some contractors because I just got a set of plans made." And I said, "What is your budget?" And he said, "Well, the architect told me that it should be right around $100,000.
Mhm.
What are you looking to do? Add a second story to my house?
Yeah, crazy.
I don't even have to see the house. There's no way. There's no way. It's not possible."
Yeah.
And so I said, "How much did you spend on those plans?" I don't remember the exact number, but it was something above 25 grand. And long story short, what we told him was, we've seen this more times than not, unfortunately, that there are, and I'm not trying to knock on anybody. I don't know this architect that put the plans together, but it's not the way that we operate. It's not the advice I'd give. Well, because knowing this is the advice I'd give any homeowner is this, and this is the reason why you want to work with a team or at least go to a contractor first and say, "Hey, do you have an architect I can work with?" Because in this guy's case, he spent upwards of 25 grand. And he's like, "Wait, it's going to cost more than 100,000?" Yeah, go talk to any. I mean, I'm just ballparking you right now. I don't even have to look at the plans. I can tell you that. And so I don't want to waste your time. And so he came back to me and thanked me and said, "Yeah, I went and talked to, 3 other contractors and you're right. They all said the same thing that you said. And I guess I just spent money and, for nothing."
Yeah.
Whereas if he had come to us first,
right.
I'd say the first question I ask every single client is, "What is your budget?"
Yeah.
Because I don't want anybody wasting any money or their time. Time is precious.
Yeah.
So you're going to come to me and want to add a second story to your house and you're okay. It's not possible. So what is possible? Maybe we can just add on outside because that's cheaper.
Yeah, and then that's exactly
Bump it out or do an interior model or something like that. So that's the reason why
the gentleman from Walnut Creek that you just saw recently had that same question, right? He was he has his family living with him, and they were talking. We're like, his first idea was build up over the garage. Well, typically, if you're going to build up over the garage, you got to take the garage down because the foundation can't support it.
You got to rip the roof down.
Exactly.
But you don't have to take down the whole garage, but I mean, you're taking down the vast majority of it. You got to beef it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we're like, directing them on if with your budgetary concerns, it's probably better just to, if you have the space, extend out on one side of the house.
Right.
It's easier. But the other thing is, the budget thing too is, I think, is important. That could be its own podcast. I don't want to dive into that now, but it's super important. Again, going back to like our last podcast about having confidence and having a good relationship with the contractor and the customer, but being honest with because if you come in and you want to hold your cars close to your chest and you're like, what, you realistically know that you can spend 200,000, but you don't want to tell them that. And the reason I jokingly say it's because they don't want us building the budget to their
Oh, for sure.
their
There's probably
their
contractors
estimate
that
to their
do that.
budget, right?
There's probably contractors that do
Okay,
that.
right.
We don't do that, but I'm sure that's the reason why. I mean, if I put myself in a homeowner's shoes, I would think, yeah, if I tell the contractor that my budget's 200 grand, they're just gonna be like, oh, yeah, I can get it done for
Well, and that's
199,999.
that's why I always like to tell our customers that we don't do an estimate, we do a takeoff, which is, we're not going in there and manipulating the numbers. It just ends
It
up
is what
being
it
what it
is.
is because we have a calculation per square foot, a material cost, and all that, and so we're not, and that's why that's I think by knowing that it gives people the ease of being
Right.
thing. But to the other point of the plans, we're dealing with that right now in Benicia, where we that homeowner was working with the architect. He's actually been trying to get his plans through for like 2 years. Ended up coming to us to help get it done. And then we did a takeoff on his job, and it ended up being like a $400,000 job.
Right.
But he's going to lift his house. He's going to pour new foundation in the basement. He has to beef up the foundation to carry the new load of raising the house and all that. And because he's raising the house, now you have to do the front porch, redo that. He's converting his garage to a dining room, remodeling his kitchen, putting in an HVAC system, putting in an additional bedroom, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom downstairs and a laundry room. So he's basically doubling the square footage of his house. Not more than that because he's using the garage.
Yeah. And fixing up the existing house and remodeling the existing house. Yeah.
And then all the issues that come with lifting the house and all the perimeter stuff. So he had, when working with him, was mentioning to me that that he was getting financing and it was 200,000 whatever. So when he found out it was 400,000, I think it came kind of a shock to him. And that's kind of why we put together the package of just a light appraisal, just to kind of show like the market value.
Right. Yeah. Listen, we don't like to waste our time, and to be honest, I feel actually worse about wasting somebody else's time.
Well, he's been trying to get these plans through for 2 years with the city of Benicia.
If we were the ones that were involved,
partly
from
that
the get-go, I'd feel so horrible.
Yeah, partly of that is because he hired an architectural firm who wasn't even architectural. They what these people did. So he went out and hired this firm who went out and hired an architect, and then that drew up the plans.
Right.
So then the firm that he hired the architect through ended up going belly up and going bankrupt.
Right.
So halfway in between him submitting the plan, so he luckily the architect that he hired, who had already been paid, actually helped him to get it through, but he didn't have to. So it was that, and so I mean, 2 years of trying to get something done, just to figure out that you didn't know how much it was going to cost to be, so now you've gone through all the headache. I mean, he had to resubmit his plans like 4 or 5 different times because he would submit them. They get all kinds of kickbacks. He's trying to deal with getting answers, and because again, the firm went belly up, so he's dealing with the engineer and the architect separately. And again, thankfully they were good people and helped them out. But by the time he got the revisions back and did all this, then the codes would expire. So then he had to redraw them up. I mean, it's craziness. The whole thing was crazy. Anyhow, so yeah, so that's there's a lot of pitfalls that I think people don't know. But Julian, our architect, shout out to Julian, is
Julian's awesome.
One of the things that he does that I think is super unique, I've never heard of anybody else doing it, is he actually will submit all the plans to the city for you, to go through the permitting process. Because typically the architect will give you the plans, you'll take them down to the city, start the permitting process. The city will say like, here's 47 revisions, now go fix them. Then you got to give them back to the architect. So you're playing middleman between these two people. So having him take care of it just fast tracks the whole thing.
Right.
And speaking of other podcast topics, that's another good one, is about how the city is outsourcing a lot of these big municipalities are now out, even the smaller ones. We're here in Martinez, they're doing it now.
Yeah.
Where they're outsourcing their plan
Planning.
checking.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot harder to get these people basically don't care that you're a human being and want to get your house done. They just want to hit you with tons of revisions, and it makes it a lot hard. Anyhow, okay. So going back, so we touched on all those points. Final one being the architect, but she had another one. What was the
the question that we didn't talk about too much was, we talked about moving out or staying there. So what we didn't talk about is, okay, you're going to stay there, you're going to work from home. It depends on what's getting done there. If it's a whole house remodel situation, what I would recommend is we start on the opposite side of the house from where your office is, or move your office to the opposite side of the house. That way it's furthest away from all the noise.
Yeah.
We get that area ready for you, and then we can start on the other side. And so that's a lot of the ways that we tend to handle when folks are living there. But all the way down to a kitchen remodel, the things that we take into consideration, I'd recommend every homeowner do this. We don't know if other contractors do it or not, but we tend to do it. Is, say you're going to do a kitchen, we set up a temporary kitchen for our clients, because we don't. Listen, it's stressful enough to have.
That way you're not doing your dishes in your bathroom sink.
Yeah. So, and we don't set up a full blown kitchen, and I mean, we're happy to do it for
at least plumb in a wash basin.
We plumb in a wash basin with every single one. We set up an area you can plug in a hot plate. We make sure that we give you an outlet with enough amperage on it that you can plug in a hot plate, plus a microwave and all that, and coffee maker.
I wouldn't say I just want to. We don't do it for every single one. It's just the ones that need it.
Well, the ones that request it. Yeah, we offer it basically. Yeah. We offer it. Actually, and a few years back, on Nick's, I'm not going to specify, but Nick was the client's name. Remember, we used his cabinets and we set them up outside. Right. So we actually installed his sink on the backside of where his sink was. Mm-hmm. On the we used the same exact plumbing. Mm-hmm. Remember, we reversed it, put it out there, and actually cut apart his cabinets and set them out. And so we actually repurposed his cabinets and installed them outside for him.
Yeah,
and that was pretty cool.
So the last question that we didn't touch on yet is the budget. So we that part, I think, kind of rolled into the architectural side, because you're talking about budget and building the job to your budget. But this is also why the way we set up our business is that we, as a design build firm, is the answer that specific question. I think that was, in my early days of business, that was always the top question, is like, can I afford it? How much is this? And the problem is that when you talk to most contractors, they're going to give you the price to build, we'll just keep it simple, for your kitchen. They're going to give you the price to remodel your kitchen, but you still got to figure out your flooring, your appliances, your cabinets, if there's any kind of load bearing walls, and what that costs with the architect and the engineer and all that kind of stuff. So working with a design build firm like us, we would come in and basically give you a price for your kitchen, work with our architect and engineer to come up with a price for drawing up the plans to move a load bearing wall. And FYI, because I just actually seen this not too long ago, where the guy said, "Oh yeah, we had our kitchen done and we moved this wall," and I forget how it came up, but basically, when you do load bearing walls, you need to have at least some kind of calculation, knowing that what you're gonna, especially if it's a big one. But then we can give you the price of your cabinets, the price of your flooring, and then the final thing would just be figuring out your appliances. But that way, you're getting the whole ball of wax idea of what the cost is, instead of just what it is to build your kitchen and install your cabinets. And the way that we do that for us specifically is we tried in the early days to package this all together and give everybody the problem is it eats up a lot of time. So what we do is, because we own Bella Casa cabinets, what we do is we give you a mid-range price on your cabinets. So say that you want to do a kitchen remodel, we do the estimating on that, give you a price on that, and everything like I told you before. But then in addition to that, we give you we do a quick 3D rendering of your kitchen. We price out some cabinets, and we just do it in like a mid-grade cabinet based on a good layout. Just from a quick conversation that we have with you. And the reason for that is because you don't we can't we can't invest the time to to walk you through like every single bell and whistle of a kitchen. But by giving you a good mid-grade cost based on your layout and giving you 3D renderings, at least going into it, here's your middle range budget, right? And then you could figure
Right.
out where you want to go from there.
Right. And realistically, again, we take this stuff so seriously, and this is a reason why we decided to kind of pull out all the stops and make sure that we have every vendor available and right away for clients, because we've seen this happen before where a client gets frustrated because they go, oh, like I have no clue, what the price of cabinets is going to be, and who do I talk to? Where do I go?
Mhm.
And I, we've had so many conversations with clients that have given us feedback like, oh yeah, I talked to this other contractor and he said, I got to go cabinet shopping on my own and go find something. And it's like, I guess again, I don't want to knock anybody else, but in my mind, it's nuts that you come to me as a contractor. Like, it's my job to figure it all out for you. It's not. I mean, if certain clients would go, "Hey, do I have to buy cabinets from you guys?" Absolutely not. No, you can go buy them anywhere. We just offer it because we're trying to make the process easier
Yeah.
for everybody involved,
Which-
and it's even easier for us because when we can control
Right.
all of it, there's no question marks.
And then the less stressed out you are, the easier our job is.
So we just had a client who just said, "Hey, could we use our own hire our own flooring contractor?" This happens to be a full whole house remodel, and our answer to that was, "Listen, the only reason we want you working with our flooring contractor is because we can warranty this stuff. We can guarantee his work, all of that. That's why we don't use anybody else. And we know that he's going to guarantee his work." And so it's kind of like if you were to go to, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an analogy that's kind of fitting for this, but what maybe like a restaurant and wanting to bring in your own food or something like that.
Well, the other thing is there's liability attached to that. So
There's a ton of liability attached
you
to
can
it.
do that. We don't like to do that. That's why we have our network of people that we work with. If you don't work with us directly, but if you wanted to bring in your own people, uh, they would have to go through the submit certain things, make sure that they have the proper insurance and everything, because ultimately they're going to come onto our
But
job
beyond
site.
that,
And then we have to manage them.
right?
That's actually another good. Are you writing these down for these podcast topics?
No.
Because that's actually a really good one too.
Yeah, it's
Because
a really good one.
because the problem is customers do think that they think, well, here's a price. We give you a price on your flooring. Well, I want to bring somebody else in and have you know uh, Joe Smo do it. Okay, well, who is this guy?
Yeah.
He's going to come in when we're because the way without getting into the well, I don't even know if I should go into the depth
No,
of
this should be a different a different topic. But this is the reason why we offer. We spent a long time building these relationships with our flooring contractor, for instance.
Mhm.
Gino and I have both known. He's third generation, just like we are.
RC Flooring.
RC Floors. Shout out to Mark.
Yeah.
We've known Mark since he was a little kid. Gino and I both worked with his dad. We actually worked for his dad and for his grandfather.
Yeah.
Our dad worked with his dad and his grandfather.
Yeah.
So again, it's not like we're not giving him the work because we know the guy. Like if Mark didn't have the same qualities as us, we wouldn't work with him. But Mark has like almost identical qualities and as us. And so like we take it so seriously. We sleep easy at night because we know that Mark's not even gonna call us if a customer calls him. He's just gonna go out there and deal with it.
But also the thing that people don't think about is we have we have built a business. Any kind of business that you build, you have to optimize that business to be successful. And the way that we've optimized our business is to be very strategic as far as our preparation, our planning,
Right.
our scheduling. So you throw in a third party in the mix, and okay, this guy's supposed to show up on Tuesday. He doesn't show up. Now we have to push our painters back. We have all these different things.
Logistically, it messes everything
Or
up.
or he sets stuff up in the driveway and what was it? Didn't you have something long time ago where something happened and they damaged something,
Yep,
or what
yep.
was it?
Yeah. So this was when I was younger. I was on my own. I wasn't part of the family business. I was running my own construction company, and I didn't ask my dad's advice, which I probably should have on this, and I allowed a client to hire somebody to come in. It was a kitchen remodel, and the client said, "Hey, I have somebody who wants to take my cabinets and repurpose them." And this is twofold. This is a crazy story. So I have somebody who wants to repurpose these cabinets. They were kind of newer, and so it actually hurt the client and it hurt me, and I'll tell you why. So I'm going to give these cabinets away to a needy family. Okay,
Nice gesture.
nice gesture, beautiful gesture.
Yeah. What could
So
go wrong?
yeah, do you mind if we and them do the demo on the cabinets and repurpose them? And again, nowadays I'd be like, zero chance. There's no way, because opening up everybody to liability
So what happened?
and not honoring the client and not protecting them. But I didn't foresee this happening. Okay, this is what happened. So then I show up and start talking to the clients about it, and they're like, "Oh my God, it was a nightmare. We're being sued because the guy that came in here that we were giving the cabinets away to had a guy that was helping him and broke his ankle. And now the homeowners are getting sued for this, right?" And so not only that, but we were keeping the hardwood floors in place when somebody scratched the hardwood floors, and then I got blamed for that. And it's 100% guarantee that it wasn't any of us involved, that it was these people. So this guy comes in and breaks his ankle and then sues them and then scratches the floors, and I get blamed for it. So homeowner did get sued for it and had to settle that claim. I had to take care of the hardwood floors.
Right.
And again, not the biggest deal. I took care of it, whatever.
But that's
the whole point is you can't control it.
So
right?
we started talking about this because the client you're talking about wants to bring in their own flooring person.
Right.
So to them, it's like, why shouldn't I be able to do that? This is my house.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's our job. It's our names on the
permit.
On the permit.
That's right.
It's our insurance. So
right.
And then also the scheduling. Like I said,
right.
we have a very strategic way that we do tasks. We have this task is done, this task is done.
Messes it all up.
And then say that something goes wrong, and
it just opened you up to an argument.
Well,
it opened
exactly.
you up to a lawsuit.
Right.
It opened you up to all that sort of stuff.
So what we've done is we've basically said, if that's what you want to do, then they have to submit all their paperwork to us.
Right.
They have to have the proper insurance and all that kind of stuff, because our insurance won't cover it.
And realistically, we're still being too nice about that, because it still opens up too many possibilities of a finger pointing somewhere where, hey, listen, if something gets scratched, it's either us or one of our subs, and we're going to take care of it for you guys.
And that I mean, that's what I love about this podcast, is that there's so many things that, I mean, look at this. Sarah had these questions.
Oh man, we can sit here for 10 hours going through this.
But we stopped ourselves multiple times from going
off into the weeds, because it's a rabbit hole, another rabbit hole that can open up.
Exactly right. Yeah. But that's the cool thing, and that's the scary thing, and that's the informative thing about construction, and that what most people don't understand.
And realistically, Gino and I just don't know this just from our own personal experience. We have tons of our own personal experience, but again, we are able to tap into multiple generations of experience. So we have all of our dad's experience, and we have all of our grandfather's experience and all that combined experience from everybody. And then realistically, again, with our subs. So we have Mark, who's also third generation and all his experience.
That's
And so, together, I mean, we probably have hundreds of years of experience across so many different facets. And not that like we're so great and all that sort of stuff. It just, it is what is very cool about being third generation, being around it for so long, is that our combined experience.
It's not about being great. It's about being human. And when you've been around it for as long as we have, not only doing it, but just being around it,
right,
and dealing with not only your family that does it, but you work with, you work with electricians, you work with plumbers, you work with architects, you work with landscapers. Everybody has their own stories, and you pick up these different things along the ways, plus all the mistakes that we've made along the years that we've learned from.
Right.
So, but yeah, that the dad thing is that's actually, amongst the primary reason of this podcast being to be informative for the customer and a business owner, because we want the customer to learn, the potential pitfalls so they can educate themselves. Also, we want to educate the business owner, because I think one of the biggest things in business is that contractors especially tend to be in their own bubbles, so they don't communicate with each other because they don't want to give away like trade secrets or whatever they going on. But so it's a good way to bridge that gap. But my point being is that getting dad in here, getting him on the podcast to actually, because I've heard his stories 1,000 times. There's actually a lot of stories that still to this day that I've never heard. When he tells me, I'm like, you never told me that.
Yeah.
But getting those recorded.
Yeah, it's important.
Because we lost our grandfather when I was, how old were you? 14? You must have been 14.
14, yeah, 14.
I mean, but, we all have those things, in our lives where we're like, we wish we would have written those down.
Ask those questions,
and ask those questions. So that's going to be our third third leg of the stool for this podcast, is to
bring him in down. But then we got to rope him in, and because you think we go off in the weeds. Joe
Rogan's podcast goes for like 3 hours. Why could we're at 1:07 right now.
Yeah, the average Joe Rogan podcast goes like 3 to 4 hours. I just saw one from Sean Ryan too, who's got a great podcast, and he had like a 6-hour pod. Like, what in the world?
Well, the crazy thing was when I like Joe Rogan's podcast. I like what I like about it is it's the depth and breadth of his guests.
Oh yeah, everyone.
But sometimes I'm like 3 hours. It's a lot,
man.
But sitting here having a conversation, you can see how that kind of gets.
Oh yeah. Well, and again, as we're building out this podcast, yes, we try to make it concise as much as possible because we understand that your time is valuable. But at the same time,
we should just wash dishes or something, or have this on while you're doing something that's productive.
Yes, exactly.
Hopefully Mario's soothing voice helps you calm down.
AM radio.
So anyhow, but we've gotten off to a good start on this podcast. I think we've just in the episodes that we've done, we've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
But I get excited about it because just like in these conversations about how, we kind of get off into the weeds, and I think that's the cool part. As long as we have some kind of direction, so we're not we're not talking about sports. When we're trying to answer.
We'll try to keep these things as short as possible.
The good thing is I don't really watch sports, so we don't.
But we'll try to cover as many.
We work
topics.
so hard that we don't have time for any other stuff.
That's all we do.
And our dad worked it out of our system a long time ago.
That's right.
So you're gonna do the outro this time, so go for it.
Well, thanks for listening to this Mazzamuto Method in today's podcast. If today's episode brought you clarity, confidence, or a useful strategy, share it with somebody who needs it. And if you're ready to build without chaos in your home, your business, your life, follow the show for more tools and direction. And remember, strong foundations build a strong future. See you in the next episode.
Good job. And thanks, Sarah, for our first podcast.
Shout out to Sarah.
And quickly, send us your questions. We want to answer more of those on air.
Absolutely.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.